Well, boys, I wanted to start this video with some music and a little montage showing pictures of the car and talking about how we patched the thing up. But, alas, that did not work. I came out to the car today, walked outside, and I immediately smelled gas under our carport. And so I smelled gas, and I look under the car, and there's a little puddle, which you can see right there. Now check this out. It normally never does this until after the car has started and pressured up and everything like that. So why it's doing this now, I have no idea. So obviously we're still leaking. Now as to where we were leaking, I have no idea. I can't tell if we're leaking around the rim of the housing or if we're leaking around the fitting where I put the epoxy. Can't tell because it's all covered in gasoline. So that's a little bit disheartening. That means we're going to have to go through that entirely and do something about that, and I don't really want to do that. But I guess we're going to have to. So the Lexus is down until indefinite notice. So today's video, I'm going to continue going on to what I was going to do. We are going to go out to the lake and we are going to talk about how much a 2JZ swap cost. Stay tuned. Just ate a blueberry muffin and it ended up all on my shirt. We are here at the lake, and so we are about to sit down and talk about how much a 2JZ swap cost and how much it costed me. So, yes. Alright, so these are the things that you have to actually do to get the motor into the car and running. You got to first of all have the motor and transmission, right? Okay. You have to have a fuel pressure regulator kit in the IS300 because the 2JZGTE is a return fuel style setup and the IS300 is not. So you have to have a fuel pressure regulator and run an external return back to the fuel tank. Okay, you got to have an intercooler kit. You know, everybody knows that for a turbo car you have to have an intercooler. Okay, you need to have a custom drive shaft made if you're going to go with the transmission from the Supra. The IS300 transmissions are weak as hell and they don't last, so it's a smart idea to use one of the transmissions that came with the motor. Okay, you need to spend a good amount of money on parts for the motor to freshen it up because you don't know how long it's been sitting, and preventive maintenance is a whole lot easier to do while the motor is outside of the car. Then you're going to need a new fuel pump because the IS300 fuel pump doesn't flow enough fuel to meet that kind of power demands. You're going to need a custom harness because it's Japanese motor with Japanese spec wiring, not American, and so to get the 2JZ to communicate with the IS300 car systems you need to have a custom harness made, or for whatever car you're putting it into. You're gonna have to have a battery relocation in the IS300 and an ABS relocation because the ABS unit sits where the front turbo sits, so you need to move that to where the battery used to be and then move the battery into the trunk. So that's two things you got to account for. You're going to need some gauges because you need to be able to monitor your motor. If you don't, you know, you could be breaking something and not even realize it. But you don't necessarily have to have those, but they're just something good to have. And then think about the money you're going to have to spend on the fluids too. So once again, this is just a completely bare bones swap. This is just to get the motor in a stock form and fashion, or mostly stock form and fashion, in the car running. So I paid $2,200 for the motor. That's about the going price of the motor and transmission. So I paid $260 for the Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator kit. I paid $640 for the intercooler kit with piping from CX Racing because they're the only company that makes an intercooler that fits without having to cut up the IS300, and plus came with some pipes. I paid $620 to Drift Motion for a one-piece drive shaft. I paid about $700-ish, probably a little bit more than that, for some parts for the motor, like all new gaskets and seals, new water pump, new timing belt, all the odds and ends and accessories and stuff for the motor, just so that way I wouldn't have to yank the motor right back out after I got it running if something was wrong. So I went ahead and did all the maintenance on it. I paid $150 for a Walbro LP 255 fuel pump, and to be honest, I kind of wish I would have went with a different pump. It's kind of loud, very loud actually, and it's not all that great of a pump. I paid $520 to Tweaked Performance for a harness. What they did is I sent them the harness from the 2JZGTE and I sent them the IS300 harness, and they merged the plugs and everything because the connector ends are different, being a Japanese harness. And I'm using the stock twin turbo motor computer right now also. I paid $100 or so for my battery relocation. I didn't buy one of those pre-made kits. I went and bought a battery box myself, bought all the wiring myself and connectors and everything like that, and did the relocation myself into the trunk. I paid $300 to a company called Finishing Lines for my ABS relocation. It's a very nice kit, black lines with anodized purple tips on each end. It looks really nice. I paid about $250 for my gauges, even though only one of them actually is hooked up right now. So I paid $150 or more, give or take, for all the fluids in the car, because you completely have to flush all the fluids out. You know, new coolant, new oil, transmission fluid. You can change your diff fluid while you're at it, and brake fluid, power steering fluid, you know, stuff like that. You're going to need all that stuff when you do this swap if you want to do it the right way. And so I know I'm forgetting probably some more stuff, but for that right there, that cost me $5,890. So basically knocking on $6,000. I know me personally, I spent over $6,000 because this doesn't include, you know, the hoses that you need to rerun and stuff for like power steering and for the fuel return line and everything like that. So you need to factor that in. And the biggest thing is this doesn't include fabrication time. Scotty he cut up my intercooler pipes and made them actually fit, because the CX Racing kit did not fit. And he also did a few other little odds and ends for me on the car. So that doesn't include fabrication, which is going to cost a good pretty penny. And another big thing this doesn't include is if you do the work yourself. I did all the work myself. My friend Ryan helped me actually put the motor in my car. Other than that, I did most of the work myself. And so that's going to be the biggest deal. You can basically take this $6,000 cost just for parts and everything like that and multiply it by about a time and a half, maybe more than that depending on the shop, because it's going to cost a lot of money to get somebody to do this for you. There's a lot of time in this swap. My car was down for, give or take, 7 months, I believe, when I was doing this swap last year. So it takes a lot of time, costs a lot of money, and you need to think about that if you're going to do the swap yourself, because paying somebody else to do it is going to cost a good chunk of change, whereas you could have just went ahead and bought a different car that was faster. You know, people talk about how, why would you spend all that money and time on a car just to make it faster, when truthfully you're not very far off from being able to buy a different car for the amount of money that it costs you to do this swap. So that's pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. I hope to get the IS300 running again. I'm going to go home and assess the situation and the damage and see what my options are, and see what I need to do to get that fixed. I'll probably end up having to buy a new fuel pump housing and modifying that one, or potentially fixing the one that I have. I don't know. I think the one I have now is kind of just gone too far beyond repair. So anyway, we won't know until we take it out and look at it, which is probably going to be my next video. So if you like the content, stick around for more. Got some more stuff headed your way. If I can sell my motorcycle soon, we're going to start the single turbo swap. And I'm also potentially looking at trying to pick up a CD009 6-speed transmission and getting the parts together to try to do that swap as well. So plenty of content on the way. If you like the video, guys, drop a like, subscribe for more. Peace out, guys. Have a good day.